Um, this is actually this is a redo of part one of the series. If you wanted to see the original, I'm gonna post the link to it. It's unlisted. I'm not sure how I would figure that out. And then you have two part ones. All right. So basically, um, let me explore the idea first. Let me explore the idea of someone who gets arrested in a particular country, let's say the United States. But after they were released from prison after a certain amount of time, they apparently are deported to a different country. In most contexts, um, this type of person would most likely get more sympathy if they have been deported. If they are not deported, they are likely to refund. Especially if they went, especially if their prison sentence is longer than a month. So, um, why would they need to be immediately deported to a different country? Another example I got is from a man named Bruno, who served in prison in Germany and then immigrated to the United States and then lived to. So basically, the country that this type of person gets deported to after, um, I'm like, oh well, the Bruno example is not deportation. So don't stress out so much about the details in this case, like deport or like kind of same idea. I'm trying to get the idea that if someone goes to prison for a long time in a particular country, and then they leave the country shortly afterward, or even immediately afterward, and then they live in that other country for the rest of their life. So basically, now that only describes a small percentage of prisoners. Um, um, and because it only describes a small percentage of prisoners, um, it might not be like an example that a professor might use. But the idea is simply that this is in complete contrast to anyone who uses iPhones. So if you know somebody who uses iPhones would not understand what I'm talking about, and along with a certain type of person that you know what, like that's the thing. I can't just go back in time and that's the thing. Like I don't have the ability to use a time machine. That's the thing. What sucks? Like um like what really sucks is that um I'm trying to explain these concepts and it's supposed to end up being really deep, and yet I'm not able to articulate it. So let me try something else. The idea is that um if a person goes to prison in a country and they serve time for at least a few months, sometimes even years, if they get released and they live for the rest of their life in the same country, nothing really would change. But if they end up going to a different country afterwards, what would end up happening? First of all, the folks in the first country would see that they will only see they see this person spent a lot of time in prison, and that's the only thing they will see. If they're in a different country, they would not see anything from that except from emails or mails I'll tell you that anything from Zoom or like video chat does not apply. They won't remember from that. So um, so this idea that I have is I don't exactly and I don't know what the name is. Now the thing is, a certain type of person, they will if you know the jargon word for it, that's the only time they will give you credit. Or if you don't know the jargon word for it, you might not. They don't consider you understanding the topic. regardless, and even some perceiver tests might get to that. So anyway, basically, um, it's an idea that I remember from psychology. It's called something like beginning in Latin, or I forgot the name of it. But basically, since they were deported, or since they immigrated to a different country after they were in prison, for the most part, since a prison, since being in prison was basically the last 10% of their time in this country, that's what that's what will be remembered, right? So, um, so thus you can clearly understand that the type of person could get sympathy, right? So, you can clearly understand that. And it's like, it's just like you can understand how sympathy can be gained. Um, all right, now let's try to get to the root of it. So I remember in 2017, um, I was studying, I was reading a book written by a man that studied in Columbia University for graduate study, right? His name is Lloyd DeMont. All right, so basically, um, he's not a historian. I would probably describe him closer to. However, he did has been a professor at I don't know, anyway, um, that's he's dead in 2020. He died in 2020. So it's not currently alive. It's 2020. It's been 3 years. Um, actually, he may have been dead. He may have died in like December or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, the idea is that um, if I, you know, maybe I'm not gonna make the part one. This is supposed to be a redo of part one. I don't know. I'll probably figure something out. So I wanted to explore the idea that um, perhaps, because the thing is that I've observed is that a lot of people they immigrate to this country and get arrested. Right? I think the main problem is that the cops that are arresting are ICE people, not necessarily for any other reason. Which is interesting because Republicans are actually ESTJ, which and often ISTJ, which is like, wait a minute, isn't ISTJ the exact opposite? That's the thing. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me at all. That because it's like, wait a minute, a common trend I see with these illegal immigrants, they're getting arrested because they're getting arrested by ISTP police officers, and that's the only reason the Democrats are angry over illegal immigrants is because the cops that are arresting them are ISTP. That's it. And I'm like, because I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen examples of people getting deported, but if the cop is ESTJ, then nobody cares about that person, right? See, I'm trying to really get to the root of it. Anyway, um,